Hi, I'm Daniel, and before the episode starts, I want to briefly talk to you about the Garden Outreach Project, a WCF program focused on putting faith into action. Our mission is to inspire and support Christadelphians in North America to share Christ's love through outreach initiatives. This is done by facilitating national and local outreach activities, supplying resources, and providing funds to help brothers and sisters serve those in need. For example, in 2020, over 40 ecclesial groups participated in our Bags of Love initiative, which saw over 800 sleeping bags distributed to shelters and those without a home. If you, your ecclesia, or CYC want to learn more and get involved with our latest initiative, please visit our website at www.thegardenoutreach.org. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Garden Outreach for the latest news and encouragement. And now, here's the show.
Welcome back to Little Faith. I have Josh and Seth with me. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Doing great. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to catch up with you guys and hear about this trip to South Africa that you guys went on. But before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you guys are from, where you live, what you're doing.
All right, I'll go first. So, hi, everyone. I am Seth Thomas. I am from Maryland, and I go to the Baltimore Ecclesia. I am currently still in college, almost done.
And hello, I'm Joshua Budney. I'm from Meriden, Connecticut, and go to the Meriden, Connecticut Ecclesia. I'm also nearly done with college, graduating in just a couple months.
What we want to talk about today is you guys were on a P2P team that went to Cape Town, South Africa, kind of over the beginning of January. What were the dates again of your guys' trip?
I left on New Year's Day, and we both came back. I believe we left on January 17th. So we were there for just over 2 weeks.
And how big was the group that was there together in South Africa?
I want to say it was nearly 10 of us joining the established Cuddle Trust group of Christadelphians that's already there and living there doing the work.
And what kind of work did you guys do?
All kinds of different things. It was amazing to see all the projects and programs that they have in place and the many ways that they show, God's love and serve in their community. We did, tons of different things, from painting murals at creches, or basically the word for like preschools there, from doing that to doing life lessons and having Bible clubs and doing cleanups for Christ on beaches around Cape Town. We did so many different things, and it really was amazing. It felt like they were really able to give us a sense of all the projects and programs that they have there, which was a real blessing.
Yeah, it's really cool because Cuddle Trust is not just one thing. They don't focus on just one task or type of outreach. I mean, they're doing so many different things, from like work with the kids and doing Bible lessons with them, to providing food parcels to villages, to our neighbors need something, so we're going to spend our morning like getting all the resources towards what they need, to cleaning up the beach. If it's a way for them to be helpful and for them to use their resources, they'll do it. And so we got to be a part of all of those different things, which is cool.
What was the flight like getting over there? Was that the farthest either of you had ever flown?
It was definitely the furthest I've flown on a single flight. Yeah, it was really nice to, like, I flew with Becca, my girlfriend, Becca Entwistle, on the way there, and then I sat with Josh. We were able to get seats together on the way back, which definitely helped, But yeah, it was quite long. The flight there was like 13 and a half hours to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and then like another 5.5 down to Cape Town, and the flight back was, I think, like 16 hours into Newark.
I laughed with Jess because Jess and I went to South Africa in 2008, and they didn't even have like that flight, that 16-hour flight available. Technology was not available for that. So like the Dreamliners that you flew on are kind of new.
It was definitely a little intimidating. It's a 15-hour trip from New York City to Cape Town. And so, you're only going to be there for 2 weeks. and it's a 7-hour time difference. And so it's like, am I really going to be able to throw myself in and be on my feet after like such an extended period of travel? But
Right.
you really just put everything you have into it and make it work.
Right. What were your first impressions of the country?
I think like very first impression is it's like beautiful. As you're flying in, you can see the outline of Table Mountain and Lion's Head and right along the coast and kind of from far away, it's like, wow, this is amazing. Like God is amazing. Look at his creation. And it was beautiful, like flying in. And then as like, immediately as we're picked up from the airport and we're driving, kind of have to go around the, just the outside of the city, suburbs around it to get to our host's home. And yeah, it's just very like immediately, it's so striking, the complete contrast in the like quality of life. You'll have these communities of shacks with tin roofs, and you look a little bit further and you'll see the skyline of the skyscrapers in the downtown, or these these communities of smaller but nice homes with all their fences and gates up, and it definitely is quite eye-opening in that sense of the disparities in wealth and in a lot of things, in even just immediately after getting there.
Yeah, I think you're saying the contrast between well off and poor is very like clearly defined, and it's hard to bridge that gap. And so that was one of the harshest things, is you get there and it's a beautiful place, but you are like hit in the face immediately driving past these they call them townships, which is just this like these seas of tin shacks and just people on top of each other. And it's very striking. It's the best way I can describe it is life is very, very real. There's no sugarcoating anything there. I mean, you see the reality for a lot of people, and just that it's a daily struggle for a lot of people to live. And so that was a theme I think throughout our time, is like you're hit with the reality of what people have to go through to live here.
Yeah, that contrast is extreme. Just my memory is kind of that feeling of going in from a like hot tub to a cold pool, like how often that it's just very jarring to see the disparity so close together, especially. What were your personal highlights for the 2 weeks there?
I can recall a few moments that really stuck out to me. And we actually, this was another thing that I really enjoyed, but we had these kind of debriefing or reflection sessions at the end of each week. And so we talk about, what were our favorite things. That was really nice to like take some time to reflect and share, see how much things meant to people. And when we did that, some of the things that came to mind for me that really stuck out were the cleanup for Christ. So Cuddle Trust has been, over the past, I think just over only the past couple months, they've started to do these things called cleanups for Christ. And basically they'll just take a bunch of trash bags. You don't really need much more than that, and go to a beach or to a park, and they will just start picking up trash. And we all had these matching t-shirts, and they say the good news of the kingdom of God on the front, and Christ's cleanup is coming soon. And it says Hebrews 10:24 on the back. And it was amazing to see, all the people who took notice and who asked, said, oh, like, what is the group that you're with? Why are you out here like picking up trash? And there were actually people who would come over and ask if they could have a bag and would help clean up as well. And it was just, it for me personally, it led into quite a few really meaningful conversations with people about what I believe and why I was doing that. And it was really amazing and inspiring to see, how we can be a witness to God and show God's love and have opportunities to talk about our faith by even just doing something as simple as picking up trash on a beach. And is definitely something that if I've already talked with my ecclesia about, but trying to do that here, with my ecclesia and with our community here in the US. But that really stuck out to me. There was one time we had one evening we did it. We probably did a couple of the cleanups, and one evening it was about an hour. It was a really, really busy beach. I believe it was a Saturday night, and we must have had like 25 bags of trash that we had collected, a group of maybe 10 of us or so, and some really good conversations. And we filled up the whole back of the truck, the bed of the truck. Yeah, it was amazing.
You ask about highlights. I think there's a few things that stand out to me. One moment in particular that seems kind of like innocuous, but I think will always stick with me is it was after playing games with the kids in one of the villages that we worked with one day that I was tasked with. I was given a bag of apples and I had to cut them up and then go and distribute them to the kids after playing. It was a hot day in the sun, and they do like to give some sort of like food treat after, because like they said, these kids at the end of the day think with their bellies and they need something to eat. And so I just take these apples and I walk back to the village, and this kid had kind of befriended me. He was like 10. I think his name was Miran. And he was telling me about how he wanted to be a firefighter and all this funny stuff. He was just a really funny, like, bright kid. And he became my guide in making sure every kid got an apple slice. And so I was completely leaning on him to like translate for me to Afrikaans, and he would like show me where there'd be more kids who would want apples. So I'm just following him around, and like we're just kind of joking around with all these kids, and you get like a little following of people all just walking around. And it was in like that moment, just in that hour, you're having fun with these kids, and all of a sudden, I think the distance between you and some of these kids is just so minimal, because you just appreciate like their humanity, and they're just like teasing you and teasing each other, and they're just joking around, and they're just kids. And it was like a really sweet, positive memory amidst like a lot of problems and things that they face. And so that'll always stick with me. Another thing that was so cool to witness and be a part of was Seth mentioned that a big part of what we did was we worked on upgrading this creche or this preschool. And what was so wild about this is this preschool was run by this couple, and they were amazing and so selfless. They support this preschool for this local village completely of their own funds, and they are not well off, but they've poured their entire life and every resource they have into giving these kids a place to just learn and like grow. And so they take very little salaries, like they are scraping by in and of their own situation, but they take kids in without them being able to pay school fees because many can't. And when you're just talking to them and seeing their love for the work that they're doing and how appreciative they are to have volunteers coming out of the woodwork to like come paint this school and give it the things that it needs so these kids can actually have like a positive environment, is amazing. And like there's so much to learn from that. I think like we as Christadelphians we have a very strong sense of a moral compass, and we want to do good and want to be selfless and pour ourselves into helping others. And it's just amazing to witness that from people like this couple. They're not Christadelphian. I think they may have some sort of Christian faith, but that in and of itself, I don't think is why they do what they do. They see the need, and this is their passion, and it's incredible to be a part of.
One other moment that really stuck out to me, it was the first week, and we had gone to a brother's home, a brother in the ecclesia in Cape Town, brother Asumani, and he lives probably like 45 minutes or so from where we were staying. And he lives in this very small, not quite a shack, but, not much more than that. And very small home with his family, a bunch of kids, and they were all really sweet. And so we went there because he had a bit of a shed in the back of his home that he wasn't using, and was happy for us to take down and kind of break apart. And what we did is we did that, and in place of it we planted a veggie garden. So it was myself and Ben Link and Michael and Llewellyn, two of the people who the Dew Cuddle Trust full time, and they went out to go buy some soil, some topsoil for the garden that we were planting. And Ben and I stayed back, and we were still shoveling out some of the dirt deep enough to start putting some of the soil and rocks in. And we're shoveling away, and Brother Asumani comes out, and he has a tray, and on the tray he has some glasses and some juice and a bag of chips. And he comes out, and I'll never forget this. He was singing, "Brother, sister, let me serve you. Let me be as Christ to you," as he's like walking over to us with this tray of with the juice and the chips. It was such a special moment, and really like hit me like how much it meant for him to serve us in that way, and how much the words to that song, the opportunity to be Christ-like and to show Christ's love, to show God's love to others, how much it meant to him. And it was really special. And Ben and I joined in song with him, and it was very eye-opening. You just see how much, it all means, how much it meant to him, and is definitely something that I will never forget.
How do you think you'll be affected by this? Like, you guys have been only home for like a week or two. Your answer would probably be different in a year. What kind of takeaways for your own belief or faith journeys have you taken from this experience?
First of all, it's hard to appreciate the poverty that is out there and the harsh difficulty of life that people have to experience without actually diving in and meeting them and being a part of it. And I was left with an appreciation of what I have in ways that I didn't even realize I would. For example, we spent one morning playing soccer with some kids in one of the local villages. And, I look around, and we're just kicking the ball around in this dusty field, and there's some thorns and there's some trash and broken glass on the fields. And I realized shortly after we started playing, okay, some of these kids have flip-flops on. Most of these kids are barefoot, and I'm in these nice Nikes from Kohl's, and I don't have to worry about what I'm stepping on. And I start noticing these kids, they're just happy to be playing soccer, but they'll stop and they'll pull glass shards out of their feet, toss them to the side, and then keep playing. And I was just I felt so guilty to have my shoes on at that moment, but that was just one small thing that I appreciated. Wow, I will not take these for granted. Just the fact that I have shoes and access to them. And there were many more examples like that, but that one really stood out to me.
It's something that I won't forget, and something, a way in which my eyes have really been opened from the experience has been, just focusing on serving and focusing on showing love and meeting the need that is there to be met in your community or nearby your brothers and sisters. Even just showing kindness in your general community, what a wonderful way that is to preach. I don't think that was something that I had ever really appreciated before, and just seeing, and being reminded of, like I mentioned earlier, when we're on the beach picking up trash, you might think, okay, we're not actually, we're not giving out leaflets, we're not giving a lecture, but living by example as Jesus did is such a wonderful way of preaching. And it was amazing to, as I mentioned, to see the opportunities to talk about our faith from that. There was another instance where we were helping the Cuddle Trust. They'll do these great things. They call them random acts of kindness. And, it's kind of what they are. The people in Cuddle Trust that live a little bit further outside of Cape Town in Hopefield. It's like a smaller town. One of their neighbors are basically they're farmers. They have a ton of sheep. And one morning we spent, mucking out a sheep stall, which is something I hadn't done before. But, as we were talking with this couple who live there, and they're a bit older, so it's not very easy for them to do all that work. It takes them a long time. And in conversation, it came up like, wow, like you Americans are so kind. And I kind of just made a little comment about it. This has nothing to do with us being American. Like it's, we're just trying to show the love that God shows us. And like little things like that, it was neat. And later on, they had us over for lunch later that day. And we were talking a little bit about our faith and what we believe. And it was just really neat how, us kind of, showing that we care, helping was kind of open the door for us to have those meaningful conversations about our faith. And even if you don't have those conversations, or they don't open doors to actually talking about your faith, you are still showing it. You're still letting your light shine, and you are sharing your faith. You are manifesting God in that way, regardless.
Yeah, the actual kind of fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. Right? Putting those things in practice. Right? It's a very natural lead into the conversation of why. Why do you act that way or live that way?
Seth, one thing that I think both of us really appreciated, and the rest that were in our group, was we spent 2 weeks with some incredible, driven, inspirational people. We spent our time with it. They're one big extended family, and the way that they pour themselves into their work, and this is like their full-time job, is just astounding. Leona, if you're listening, I don't understand how you're like up past 11 and yet have the porridge ready by 6 a.m. I thank you for that.
And already had a reading done. Woke up at like 4:30 every morning. She's like, "Oh, you guys weren't doing your daily readings every day?" What?
Like, when were you? Oof. Yeah, and so I mean, that's just a wonderful thing to be around. And I know I took so much from the people that we were with, and I love finding new spiritual mentors wherever I am, and I honestly see the wonderful brothers and sisters there as new spiritual mentors in that sense. And I think it's just a lesson in how we can really pour ourselves into whatever it is we're doing. And you don't have to like move to a place with a lot of need and be out there feeding villages and teaching kids full time to like still be doing God's work every day in your life, and to still be able to pour yourself into something. Find ways in your own community and in your own ecclesia to still be that like beacon of light and that ball of energy and service. And I know I've left there with this like just new desire to really want to do that in my home ecclesia.
Yeah, there are fantastic people. I love what you said about role models. It is so critical to find that spiritually, kind of looking for, those people that we can model after, try and find the same inspirations and make the same applications to our lives. So let's talk about P2P. This was actually an interesting ending, I think, to a project. Like you guys both, and the other people most of the other people who attended, who went down to South Africa with you, attended P2P in Portland in the summer of 2019. And then obviously this trip kind of was canceled it was supposed to be summer 2020, right? And there's like 25 of you that were going to go.
Yeah.
We were happy to see this kind of completed in a way, I guess 2.5 years after your training in 2019. Was there anything from that time that you guys had in 2019 that you remember and that you kind of applied to your time in South Africa?
Something that we talked about and focused on during that week in Portland that I found helpful was just the time that we spent trying to understand our own like preaching styles. We did a few little, questionnaire things. I don't remember exactly what they were all called, but the color test thing, but even some that were more specific to preaching, which was, not that I was actively thinking about that while I was there, but I think I remember them being impactful when we did that in 2019. And I think was important in realizing that, there are a bunch of different preaching styles, and everyone, shares their faith, manifests their faith in different ways. And I thought that was helpful and definitely, helpful to me, in that I'm someone who I like talking about it, but I think I also like to show my faith in the passion and excitement that I have for life, and doing my best to live like Christ. And we had talked about like playing sports and doing activities with the kids, and kind of in little ways trying to connect it to something spiritual, or some spiritual lessons from, games like soccer or like volleyball and things like that. And I definitely tried to, not that I was, giving him a Bible lesson on the soccer field, but I remember there was one instance where I pulled a kid aside after. It was one of the older kids. He was probably like 12 or 13, and just thanked him for being so kind with all the younger kids, and for, he was very good, but he made like a very conscious effort, and I could tell, to like pass and to share. And I just pulled him aside and thanked him for being a really amazing example to the younger kids in the township. And I think maybe that idea in the back of my head was, it was kind of something that we talked about when we were in Portland.
Yeah.
I like that. I think another thing from Portland that actually didn't click until our time in South Africa a couple of weeks ago was we spent so much time in our training, like trying to determine what are our strengths, what are we good at, both in our personality and in like our abilities. And I didn't fully appreciate how important it is to like play to your strengths until we spent 2 weeks doing like a whole range of different activities, some of which you're like better at and feel like you can contribute a lot to, and other things like puppet shows that you're unsure of if this is really for you. And I'm very thankful to those that are great at puppet shows. And so I think understanding the importance of like everyone has tremendous different abilities, and to don't feel bad if like something isn't your forte, but B, like find what is and go contribute in that. And I think that's a great lesson for really anything in life, but especially in our ecclesias. Some are going to be better at interpersonal things, counseling and checking in with members. Others will be better with the more service oriented work. And like both are phenomenal and both are necessary. So for yourself, like find what that is, find where your strengths lie, and use that like to your advantage, and don't like feel bad about maybe what your strengths aren't. So that's something from training and from our time that I think I took away.
Yeah, you hit on one of my favorite things. I think it's a spiritual concept that we kind of have this. I think we have this idea that we need to round out our characters and like increase ourselves where we're weakest. We call that like personal growth. I think the Bible's clear too that we're given talents, right? And we're different parts of the body, and we should lean into those things. And if you're trying to, do personal development, what if you try to get even better at the thing you're already good at? And trust your brothers and sisters or your ecclesial members to do the things that they're good at. Kind of lean into teamwork. There's a lot to be said for like, focusing on what you can do and doing it. Thanks so much for your time, guys. And thank you again for taking the time to go to South Africa.
Yeah, thank you, Levi, and like just tremendous thank you and well wishes to those we spent time with. And if anyone ever has the chance to work with or promote or fundraise for Cuddle Trust in any way, I mean, like we cannot vouch for them more. It's just a wonderful group of people doing great work.